What up, you guys? Welcome back to Pro Publications YouTube channel. Just got back from that hike. For anybody new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. Here we talk about zines and DIY culture. Basically, if you're into potentially creating some sort of craft business, you might find what I'm up to interesting. Today, I just really have two things that I know I gotta take care of. One, I have a stack of comics that I want to find. Just because some of the stuff I'm working on, I like to, kind of delve into those kinds of comics and storylines and art styles. And really just try to refresh my mind and read these comics, like looking at kind of like how a lot of filmmakers would watch movies over and over again, trying to understand how they constructed that film. I kind of do the same thing with comic books. So I have a stack of comics that I'm going to find. But before I do that, I really want to do a zine review. We got to get back on these zine reviews. So let's go ahead and get into that now. So I think today we're going to go ahead and talk about Eddie the Office Goblin. It's a comic that I picked up from Russ. I saw this floating on the internet. I've been following Chris for a while, and I have been seeing this come together. And right off the back, I'm gonna say I love black and white art. I love seeing the line work. For anyone that's ever seen Chasing Amy, that scene with the inker versus the penciler.
I ink it, and I'm also the colorist. The guy next to me draws it, but we both came up with the characters. Next.
Does that mean you ink it?
Well, it means that Holden draws the pictures in pencil, and then he gives it to me to go over in ink. Next.
So basically, you just trace.
It's not tracing, all right? I add depth and shading to give the image more definition. Only then does the drawing truly take shape.
I now know that the inker is actually more important than the penciler. But at the time, I always found it funny, but now I understand why, because inking in itself is very different than penciling, but it actually comes to life and is very finalized when you ink it. Now, the thing I don't like about color is that sometimes I feel it takes away from it. But one of the things that I really liked about Eddie the Office Goblin, right? These panels probably don't show it as well, but like something like this panel here, right? Or the empty space here, it just adds to the pacing, and I really enjoy that. Right? I like the fact, like, even this mountain being devoid of color contrasted with the red blood or lava splattering out, and the, I don't know what you would call this, hot pink background sky. Like look at this panel, right? That's a prime example of what I'm talking about, of like the white versus the black versus the red. It just looks good. And so then beyond just the art, which is kind of what drew me to it, I love the story, man. I love when you can take something as working class as working in an office and just flip it on its head. I think this is probably, I'm going to go ahead and read this so you guys kind of understand what it is. It says, Eddie the Office Goblin is a comic that takes the medical physical dread of office life and translates it into something fantastical. Instead of performance evaluations, there are lava sharks. Instead of cramped elevators, there are interdimensional portals. Instead of human resources, well, the HR office is the same. That's already nightmarish enough. Thank you for reading. There goes homie's Instagram and Twitter handles, which will of course be in the show notes. But yeah, I love the fact that it's a working class story, and the art is just great, man. And one of the things that I really enjoy about this is that it doesn't feel like it's in a hurry. Right? It just, like, this is a one and done, kind of just introducing you to the world and just having fun. And that's kind of what I want on our first issue, just like present the world to me, right? And at that, I think we should get into one more zine review. So then, Grublin's The Legend of Pboy by Brian Judge is another one that I picked up off Instagram. He also shot me some diary comics, which I love his diary comics. I thought these were some of the best one-pagers that I've seen. And I am definitely going to try to fucking mimic some of this formatting, because he's getting quite a bit of panels in these pages, and he's using it kind of like the classical comic panel styles. So I definitely enjoyed these a lot. It gave me a lot to think about with the way I do my one-page comics, which is very important to me because I have the vending machine at the moment. But going back to what I was just saying about Eddie the Office Goblin, about the first issue that I get of any comic, I want it to open up the world to me. Right? And I want to see whether or not it's a world that I want to look into. And I feel like the Grublin's The Legend of Pboy does exactly that. It's a very, very fast-paced story But what it really does is it gets you to understand this character's backstory, this character's coming of age or becoming a hero of some sort, and then just sets them on that path. And what it does, it sets the tones of like these oppressed grubs, right? This oppressed group of beings, and the different ways they're dealing with their oppression, and the different ways that they're finding their freedom and liberty. And there's more than just one story here. And this is the page here in the back where it's just kind of, I was like, yeah, I can fuck with this world, right? It's like Grublin's wanted list, and it goes through all these different grubs that ultimately are rebels and are forces to be reckoned with, right? Right. So then you have the story of Barbo, and then you have the story of Pig's Blood, and you have the story of Pboy. And so you're kind of introduced to this larger world of this oppressed group, and like I said, and the way they're trying to find and fight for their freedom and well-being. And that in itself is just a good premise. Some of the coloring here, I feel like less would have been more, but that probably is just because I like more black and white kind of comics, you know? But I definitely fuck with this line work. I like this line work. And like honestly, this story is just fun, man. It's a very fun and inviting kind of story, saga, and world building. That's it, you guys. I'm going through all my comics, looking for some of the comics that I'm looking for. And so once I'm done with that, I'll show you guys what I was looking for and why. You guys is why you should have your comic books organized. It took me quite a bit of time to find the comics I was looking for. And so let me tell you guys real quick, the comic book story that I'm working on right now, it's kind of like a as you guys saw with the Post-its video, it's this fella walking through a wasteland. He doesn't understand what it is. He just woke up, and basically it's kind of like this demon realm. And so then I love the Evil Ernie comics. I love these comics. I love the Chaos era comics. And let's see if I have one right here. Boom. And Stephen Hughes was by far one of my favorite comic book artists. And so then, I'm pulling these out because I kind of want to get that old school feel. And then Prophet is another one, which I don't have too many Prophets, but Prophet's another series that is something that I want to tap into for this story. Kind of like it has a very similar feel as far as the fight scenes. When I picture in my head, I kept thinking about Prophet. So I'm going to reread my Prophets and my Evil Ernie comics, which as you can see, my Evil Ernie comics is a bigger pile than this. And then the Shadowhawk, I got it because Shadowhawk was infamous for, you probably can't see this one, it's probably a bad example, but this one either, I don't think so, but something like this. So now that I have the Cricut, I'm thinking to myself, what can I do, right? And so then this was a very popular thing that they were doing back then, and I'm like, I want to start trying to kind of like grow out. And I'm sure there's other comics that I have, but the ones I remember the most was the Shadowhawk comics, and how they had all this other stuff, you know what I mean? And so I'm looking through them to see what I can try to do with the Cricut now that I have it, to just create different kind of covers and things like that. And like I said, I think these two right here are probably the best examples of, I feel like this is something that I can definitely do with the Cricut, because you can just cut it out. And then I don't know about that imprint, but a lot of the Shadowhawks had this imprinting that just looks cool to me. And then something like this, don't fully understand the mechanics of it, but like, now that I have a Cricut, I'm thinking like I should try to expand the way I print my zines and try to see if I can't do something new, right? Like part of the, hold on, you know what I mean? Like part of the process is also trying to grow out and trying to extend yourself, right? Like some of the art that I'm trying to tap into is art that I feel is beyond me at the moment, but that's how you get further in the process, right? By trying to reach out. So that's what I'm going to be up to. I'm going to reread some of these comic books, and like I said, for as far as the printing of a cover, I'm going to see And like I said, these are just the Shadowhawk ones, which I'm a fan of Shadowhawk. I'm a fan of the Shadowhawk comics, but I'm sure there's other comic books that I have that might spark an idea of something for me to try to do my iteration of, as far as the cover, as far as the way it's printed. And so that's kind of why I pulled these comics out. All right, man. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks so much for watching. If you made it this far and are not subscribed, maybe subscribe and help your boy out by liking the video. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Lates.